But you already know I got it, you know what I'm saying? Like Mexico was poppin'.
Yo, Mitchell.
The Wizard. Top shotter.
All right, ladies, you're through your 2 strong, heavy lifting days. Now we're into Wednesday, your flexibility, mobility, stability, recovery day. Just getting the blood flowing, get a little bit of core in. So let's get right into it. First, we have 2 rounds, plyo box hamstring stretch, just like the one we showed you yesterday. Here's the video of it again. We have the plyo hamstring stretch. We're just unlocking those hamstrings, getting blood flow, getting stretch in those hamstrings. So you want a box that is about, I always say, my hip height. So I'm gonna go right here, and I'm really focusing on keeping my spine neutral, and then that way that pushes my hips back and unlocks my hamstring in a full stretch. I'm gonna hang my hands straight down, again keeping my spine neutral the whole time, and I'm just gonna sit my butt and my hips back, pulling and opening up my hamstring right here. I'm gonna reach down, keeping my spine as neutral as I can. 12 seconds right here. Sometimes I'll get an inside lean to get the inside head of the hamstring, or an outside lean just to get all 3 heads of the hamstring. And you're gonna do the same thing on the other leg. All right, so now after each leg on your hamstring stretch, we're gonna go over and do the wall slides. So they're exactly like we did in month 1, okay? So butt into the wall. These are my contact points. Butt into the wall, shoulder blades into the wall, elbow, forearm into the wall, and your hands into the wall the whole time, okay? So I'm on a 3-3 tempo, so it's just right here. I'm just working all that soreness out, feeling that ball in my shoulder socket rotating, getting that full range of motion, okay? So I do those every single day still. I had a shoulder surgery from football. My shoulder bothers me all the time. Even when I do that tempo right there in that format, I still get crunches in my shoulder every day. Now, if you're someone who doesn't have quite as much shoulder pain, or if those wall slides are starting to feel kind of pointless or too easy for you, here's a variation of them. So we're gonna do the same thing, all my same contact points, but now instead of just the smooth motion right here, right, I'm gonna start bouncing with it. So I'm gonna just keep bouncing the whole way up like this. When I get to the top, I'm gonna kind of exaggerate up here, and I'm gonna come back down. So that's 1 rep, 2, okay, and you can kind of play with it, see where you feel the most tender, see where you feel like you're getting the most use out of this exercise. It's up to you, make it fit you. I'm burning from those 3-4 reps right there. So 3 sets, 2 sets, 12 reps. All right, next superset, 2 movements, 2 rounds, 12 seconds. So we're doing, first we have that split squat hold. So if you don't remember, I'm just gonna review it again. You're getting that wide split squat stance, okay? I'm thinking bend the front, I'm thinking straighten the back, sit tall. So if some of you don't really know what that means, here's what it is. Toes forward, hip, knee in line, nose over my toes, right? So this is how I set up. Now this is me getting into the actual movement. I'm gonna bend, I'm straighten, I'm gonna sit tall, okay? Bend, straighten, sit tall. It's pulling that hip flexor so much. You should feel like it's almost where you can't take it. That's where you want to get to, and then you want to start your count. 1, 2, 3, up to 12 seconds. I'm gonna switch my stance. Get that form right. Take your time. In line, over my toes, bend the front, straighten the back, sit tall, pull on that hip flexor, sit here. I'm sitting on that front heel. I'm kind of shifting my weight into the ball of my foot because this is more of a stretch than a lift. I'm staying stable right here. 2 rounds, 12 seconds each. Straight into the lateral leg swing, 12 on each leg. Lateral leg swings, just like month 1, we're keeping that heel down, keeping that toe forward, we're feeling the swing through that ankle, keeping my toe forward throughout the swing. I'm not turning my foot and letting my back compensate. I'm keeping my hips isolated, I'm stretching my hip out and keeping that toe forward. So your swing's not gonna be as much of a range of motion, but you're actually working that hip pattern exactly how that hip wants to work. So we're going 12 each leg, 1, 2, 3. All right, next we have a tricep. I just realized that I forgot to change one of the numbers back. So your plank says 5 rounds at 15 to 30 seconds. Make that 3 rounds, okay? So we're going 3 rounds of a plank body weight reach, same as we did on Monday. We're gonna show you it again. This time it's for time, okay? So it's a little different. We're going 15 to 30 seconds, depending on your level. I'm gonna be on my elbows. Remember, I'm squeezing my belly button like I'm getting punched, bracing my core. I'm gonna push that weight into my feet, and I'm gonna stay as straight and as flat as a board as I can, even through my reach. I'm trying not to rock like this as I reach. I'm trying to stay right here. So I'm just going 15, 30 seconds, okay? Really squeezing that belly button, really focusing on my lower core. 15 to 30 seconds, push yourselves, okay? Now, we have that inline cable chop like we did in month 1, okay? So if you don't remember what exactly that was, you can go back to the month 1 workout. Now, here's a variation of that same workout, okay? So the side that I'm starting on with this kettlebell, dumbbell, whatever you want to do, that knee is down. This knee is up. I'm in line, not out here. I'm in line with my knee, my hip, and my ankle, nose, knees over my toes, okay? If you have a kettlebell, I'm gonna hold it like this. If you have a dumbbell, you just hold the ends of it, just like this. So I'm gonna start on this hip, and I'm thinking a rotational. So think how your torso twists when you're swinging a baseball bat. So I'm gonna go from this hip, and I'm going up and across my body, up above my shoulders. So I think to my ear. So my cue to myself is hip to ear. That's 2, 3, really working all my obliques, really working my whole core right there. This is a functional core exercise. 12 reps on that. I'm gonna cross over. 1, really pushing into my front heel. 2, 3, 12 each side is 1 rep, is 1 round. And next, we have split squat jumps, okay? So just like that split squat stance, that split squat hold stance, I'm bending the front, I'm straightening the back, or at that wide stance. Now I'm gonna tap that knee on the ground, I'm gonna load through this heel, through the ball of my foot, through this knee, I'm gonna explode off the ceiling, okay? Now if you wanna get technical, I have my athletes work their arm action through this, right? So the leg that's forward, the arm is back. So this leg is forward, this arm's back. I'm gonna load through that heel, I'm gonna explode. That's 1, 2, 2. I'm driving through that heel, through that ball of my foot. I always tell my players, go get the rebound. Go get the rebound, okay? 8 each leg, so really you have 16 jumps on that. 3 rounds of that, and then we're on to the next one. All right, here we go. Last tricep of your Wednesday workout. We're really gonna fire these hips and these glutes up. Then we're gonna go into some ankle drills and some hip hamstring drills. So first we have those quadruped hip mobility drills just like we did in month 1. Month 1 we were on our elbows, right? Now I'm gonna be on my hands. The important part of this change now is to get up on these hands, have these hands directly underneath your shoulders, but make sure you're not, so I call this the cat. Make sure your spine's not in a cat, and then make sure you're not underneath like this as well. You gotta be flat as a board, just like on those planks, okay? Now when I do these swings and stuff, it's the same thing. I think of the bottom of my spine as a tail. I don't want the bottom of my spine to be inflection or hyperextension, okay? I wanna keep that spine the whole time. I'm talking to myself, cueing myself to keep that spine and the tail at the bottom neutral. So I'm gonna go, first we have internal rotation. So I'm pulling my knee, you gotta go both of them, so just choose which one you wanna start with. I'm gonna start with my left one. I'm pulling this knee to my elbow, kicking it out, and I'm going back. Now, you'll notice some people, they're going like this, but look how much my spine's moving around, right? I wanna isolate that to keep my spine neutral, so that I'm just isolating and using my hip. That's what's rotating, okay? 15 of those. Now we're straight into fire extinguisher. Just think of a dog or a cat peeing on the fire extinguisher. Again, I'm not letting my back do the work. My hip's doing the work. So I might not be able to get my knee as high as I normally would, but I'm actually working that hip pattern how it wants to be used, and I'm not compensating to get my knee up there with my back, which is actually doing more harm than good, okay? So you really need to isolate that, squeeze it at the top, take your time, okay? Next we're into external rotation. Again, I'm not letting my back compensate. Kicking back, 1, 2. Now this, in my opinion, is the hardest one to not let your spine and back compensate for, because it's just a hard rotation to not let it come in. So just let your back do as little work as you possibly can. And finally, we're gonna do kickbacks. You see ladies do this one in the gym all the time. Now remember, keeping that spine and that tail in my spine neutral. So I'm just kicking back. You'll see girls kicking up. And now look at my spine from doing this. You're putting your spine and all those vertebrae and all those discs in your back into a bad spot. So I'm kicking back to where my spine stays neutral. I'm gonna kick it as high as I can without feeling my tail bow up like this. So keeping that spine neutral right here. Okay, so those are the quadruped hip mobility drills. Now I'm going into those ankle mobility drills again. So purple band, red band, it doesn't have to be this thick. These are my favorite ones. I've worked up to this one. I wasn't up to this thickness when I started. Okay, so I like to tie this band around behind me. I wrap it around my foot. Okay, now I'm going to grab the right side, loop it around my foot, pull both reins back. Okay, I'm going to sit my knee that the band is around on my ankle. I'm tucking it under. Now I'm not bent over like this. I'm not sitting back like this. I'm sitting tall. I'm pulling this back. I'm pulling on that hamstring. I feel it right underneath my knee, right here. So we have 15 each direction. So I always say to the left and to the right. You can say internal, external. So first I'm going to go to the left, or internal rotation. And I want to think about that ball on my foot touching every inch of the wall around me, okay? So I'm really thinking about that ball that's in my ankle socket. Think of it rotating. That ball in your ankle socket wants mobility. It wants to move around. It wants full range of motion. So think of it swiveling in there. Okay, then 15 of those. Now I'm going to change 15 here. Then I would switch the band and go straight into my left leg and do 15 on that. Or once you start getting more comfortable with it, I don't want to keep untying this band and switching to go back and forth. So I know I have to go back into these swings right now. So I'm going to do my 15 each direction on my right ankle. I'm going to go straight into my swings on my right leg. So now we have 10 straight back hamstring swings. So keeping this leg flat on the ground. I'm going 10 swings as far as I can. And just like on those hip mobility drills, right? I'm not bringing my leg all the way back here, because then my tail, my spine starts to compensate and goes like this, and we're going worse than what we wanted to do. We're going more harm than we're going good. So I'm keeping that spine and that tail in my spine neutral, and I'm just isolating those hamstrings. 2, 3, 4. To try and swing further back every time. But like I said, you don't want your hip to be doing you don't want your spine to compensate and your back actually be doing the work. Okay, now we're doing lateral swings. I'm going to try and keep both shoulder blades on the ground, but as you can see, it's not very easy. So we're going 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. I'm just touching the ground with each side of my shoe. Okay, now I'm going to switch back over. Go on my left foot, do my ankle mobility drills, go into my swings. That's one round. We have 3 rounds of that, and that's your Wednesday workout.